It is said that we all hide a darkness inside of us. For a man named Tarrare, his darkness was hunger, and it was quite literally all-consuming. Tarrare was born approximately 1772 around Lyon, France, and, to put it mildly, had an appetite. As a teenager, he could eat a lot more than the average boy, and at least more than once, he ate his own weight in beef. But, despite how much Tarrare ate, he couldn't gain weight. He was described as sickly thin, weighing only around 100 pounds. His skin hanging loose around his face and body, bloodshot eyes. His teeth were described as stained and discolored, set inside a larger-than-average mouth, and was described as smelling so bad that one could not stand within 20 paces of him, his aroma becoming even worse when he was eating. His parents, unable to keep up with the extreme expense of feeding him, kicked him out of the house. He wandered around France with thieves, prostitutes, and other undesirables, before joining a band of performers where he became a sideshow act, showcasing his ability to eat corks, stones, and even live animals like rats, mice, and even cats. He would eat them all ravenously and was said to be particularly fond of snake meat. Upon the outbreak of the War of the First Coalition, Tarrare joined the French Revolutionary Army, where he would do tasks for other soldiers in exchange for their rations, but even that was not enough. He was known to have dug through garbage and dung heaps for more to eat, and was never satisfied. Tarrare was hospitalized from exhaustion and ate quadruple rations every day. Still, his hunger was not satiated, and he would dig through trash and even sneak into the apothecary's office to eat poultice, a warm mass that was used to treat burns and other injuries. Tarrare was ordered to remain at the hospital for testing. While there, he had to be physically restrained in the presence of food. When he was allowed to eat unimpeded, the surgeons and doctors would note that his stomach would distend grotesquely, blowing up like a balloon. On one occasion, he was offered a cat. Tarrare tore the animal's abdomen open, drank its blood, and then proceeded to eat the animal whole, vomiting up its fur and skin a little while later. He ate a live eel without chewing, having first crushed its head with his teeth. His hunger was making him more cruel than ever. It was determined that Tarrare could be a military asset. Wooden boxes were constructed to hold documents inside. Tarrare would swallow them whole and then act as a wartime courier, retrieving the boxes from his excrement for delivery. He was rewarded with a wheelbarrow full of 30 pounds of beef. While on one of these missions, he was captured and beaten by the enemy, and, after that, Tarrare did everything he could to avoid any further missions. He returned to the hospital where doctors hoped to cure his monstrous appetite. All attempts were unsuccessful, and any attempt to keep Tarrare on a strict diet were met by the patients sneaking away to eat out of the refuse, fighting dogs for scraps. He was caught several times drinking the blood of patients undergoing bloodletting. There was talk of committing him to an asylum for the insane. Sometime later, a 14-month-old toddler went missing, Tarrare was immediately suspected of doing the unthinkable, and with no way to prove he had cannibalized the child, he was chased away from the hospital. 4 years later, Tarrare appeared at a Versailles hospital. He had apparently swallowed a golden fork 2 years before and believed it had become lodged in his body somewhere, but it turned out to be tuberculosis. He was bedridden and weak, and died a month later in 1798 following a severe case of diarrhea. Tarrare's body decomposed so quickly that most of the doctors refused to autopsy him. However, one did and discovered that the man's gullet was unusually wide, and surgeons could see all the way into his stomach from his mouth. His liver and gallbladder were unusually large, and his body was full of pus and ulcers. The fork that Tarrare had swallowed was never found. The cause of Tarrare's appetite was never discovered, although some experts have pointed to hyperthyroidism as a cause, or perhaps to damaged amygdala, the part of the brain that controls hunger. One thing is for certain: there was never a documented case of this type before Tarrare, and there never was a documented case in the 200 years following his death. Tarrare was one of a kind, and for that we should all be thankful.